Welcombe Community Radio in the heart of Shakespeare country, for the community, by the community, in the community.
Nice.
Shazia, welcome to Welcombe Radio. It's Chris here, and
Hi.
So thank you for coming on the show. What can people expect from your show on Saturday night at the Playhouse?
Well, they can expect some laughter because it is a comedy show, so that's good news. I will be doing stand-up. It's an hour of stand-up. It's my new show, Coconut. It's new material. And I've been to Stratford upon Avon before, and I know they are desperate for a laugh.
That's certainly true.
I think last time I was there, actually, it was one of the first nights of my tour, and I got a standing ovation. And so I expect the same again.
No pressure then, Stratford audience.
Well, yeah, in Stratford you don't often get a standing ovation. It's pretty good.
I know, that's what everyone was saying when it happened. Everyone was telling me this never normally happens.
Yeah.
This has never happened for ages. And so I thought, my God, they must have really enjoyed it then.
Yeah.
They weren't lying. So why is the show called Coconut?
Well, it's called Coconut because it is based on my experiences of being on the island with Bear Grylls.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of coconuts involved there. It's also about the idea on the island. There was 5 men and 5 women. In the end, 4 women survived, and only 2 men. Because as we know, men are the weakest species. We don't need any evidence for that. And so I was 4 women survived and only 2 men. And it's about what is a strong woman then. You know, this idea, people always refer to me as a strong woman, but what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
So many times, you know, in history, like Sylvia Plath, Virginia Woolf, Marilyn Monroe, they referred to themselves as strong women. Princess Diana did. But 3 of those women committed suicide. And so, you know, what is this idea of strong woman? Ever since I've come off the island, everybody keeps referring to me as a strong woman. And I dissect that. And also, you know, when I was on the island, a lot of the men referred to themselves as alpha males. And it's about, you know, strength and how we label ourselves and how we view men and women today. And it's based on all my experiences of being on the island.
What was it like on the island? Was it stressful, or did you find it all right?
It was awful. It was awful. But it was horrific because people think, oh, you know what, it's a reality TV show. And I talk a bit about the stigma associated with being in a reality TV show, you know. You know, people think that everybody that does reality TV is fame-hungry, money-hungry, thick, stupid, awful people, and that all of that is true.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, there's reasons why people do it, you know, and people think, you know, you're going to be starving on this island, and the TV company gives you food and all that, and it wasn't like that at all. It was Bear Grylls. So it's not really reality, it's more of a survival program.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talk about that, about how awful it was, but at the same time, it was life-changing. And that's why I did it, because people who had done previous series had always said to me, you know, this is awful, but it's life-changing. And I talk about, you know, when you have a near-death experience, how that changes you. And anybody that's been ill, had cancer, or, you know, had a car accident or something, they've had this kind of, you know, near-death experience, and how this changes you, and how it changes my view of the world when I came out.
Why did you choose Stratford?
Oh, well, I'm doing a lot of dates on this tour, maybe about 30 dates. And, you know, I'm from Birmingham. And Stratford, when I was a kid, I used to come to Stratford upon Avon, school trips with my family and on holiday. And, you know, because it's also, you know, Shakespeare and all that. When we were at school, we used to go on loads of school trips to Stratford upon Avon. And, you know, a lot of times I do these gigs in small places, and people come up to me afterwards and they go, oh, thanks so much for coming here. And so, you know, if you're a name, or if you're touring and you're on TV, that you wouldn't want to go somewhere small.
Yeah.
But actually, I really like going to these small places because the people are so grateful that you've arrived.
Yeah, they appreciate it much more.
So do you tailor your comedy to the different communities that you're playing to?
No, because, you know, we live in Britain. Britain is a small place. Everybody knows what's going on. I'll talk a bit about Brexit, and I'll talk about, the divisions that have been caused, and I relate it to the island, and how we were forced to get on with each other in order to survive, and why we haven't kind of applied that theory to the outside world. And so, I don't have to change my material because, this is Britain. Everybody knows what's going on. And generally, people that come and watch comedy, they're not totally stupid. They know when to laugh, why to laugh, and they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Marilyn Monroe and Princess Diana, but where do you get your inspiration from, or who do you get your inspiration from?
Just from real life, really. Honestly, I just sit on a bus sometimes and I listen to people's conversations, and people say the most hilarious things. And they don't know this, but I tape them on my phone. And I go home and I write it up. And that's part of my show.
So everybody should be cautious and make sure you're not recording them.
So if I were you, everyone, I just wouldn't sit near me anywhere, in public transport especially.
Or make sure you're saying something funny if you are.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What does
It will be used in evidence against you. Yeah.
So we mentioned community. What does community mean to you?
Community. Well, it goes back to Thatcher, really. There's no such thing as society. It's kind of the same thing. There's no such thing as community anymore because, like the high streets have all died down. People don't go shopping like they used to. And, the local shops, there's limited local shops and pubs. Everything has shut down. So that sense of community doesn't really exist anymore like it used to. But to me, community means people getting on with each other and talking to each other, no matter where you come from. And, I really hope that when I'm on tour and people go to the bar and everybody just chats to each other about what they've just seen or what they've watched or what they think of it. That kind of engaging with people to me, is community.
So what are your thoughts on social media and the rise of social media and that perhaps replacing community in a lot of ways?
Well, it's not really a community because you don't know the people that you're attacking or the people that you're talking to. Nobody knows each other, really. You're just sending messages into blind space. Even if you are, I'm in the public eye, people do message me, and obviously it's not always nice. The good thing is they always get me confused with Malala or Nadia off the Bake Off, and I think, well, that's fine because you don't realise it's me that you're flagging off. Great. I don't engage with this too much because for me it's not real life. And I started comedy before social media, so I know a time before this where everything was okay. And I like to live in that world, really. Well,
when you were younger, were you active in your community, or are you still active with your community?
Oh no, I didn't do anything. I was really lazy. It was all about me. I just used to like to play tennis and play hockey and do the things that I loved. And I was very competitive. It was all about me winning stuff. But I think that comedians going to smaller places now, I think that brings a sense of community to people,
does,
and that they laugh together,
Yeah.
I was interested to ask, because you used to be a teacher, didn't you? And
I did, yeah.
There was several other comedians that used to be teachers. Have you got any idea why so many people make that transition from teaching to comedy?
Yes, because teaching is so awful. Comedy is so much easier. Honestly, I have never been abused on stage like the way I've been abused in the classroom. It's very difficult to keep 16-year-old boys entertained for an hour.
Yes.
Once you've done that, stand-up comedy is easy.
I won't take offence to that as a 16-year-old girl. It's all right. I'm not a 16-year-old boy.
I'm sure you're very nice, but I used to teach in the East End of London, which wasn't so nice.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Do you prefer TV, radio, or live work, and why?
And you know what, there's nothing, if you choose to be a stand-up comedian then, and you really love it, no matter how difficult it is, that is the thing that you will always love. Because everything comes off the back of that. All my writing, all my TV, all my radio, it's all come off the back of my stand-up. And the stand-up is the thing that I love because it's immediate. It's in the room, you get an instant reaction, and, it is the most exciting. It's the most exciting form to do, really.
Yeah, you get an instant reaction from your audience if you're doing it live.
Yeah, or if it's going badly, you get an instant opposite reaction, which you also feel and you never forget.
Yeah, well, I'm sure as a professional, you know how to adjust your jokes when it's going a little bit badly.
Yeah, I don't care anymore. I've died so many times. I don't care if it's going badly now, as long as I'm enjoying myself.
Well, going off of that, how do you deal with people who find your jokes offensive?
Sorry?
How do you deal with people who find any of your jokes offensive, or...
Well, you know what? It's my right to offend you, and it is your right to be offended.
Very true.
We're both equal here, and I can't cater for every single person who might be at my show, who might be offended. Because as a comedian, you'll never be able to do a true piece of work if you always are worrying about what other people...
That's very true. So do you have a line between something that's like honest or being a little bit too honest, a little bit rude, or do you just feel like you can say what you want to?
I like to be honest.
Yeah.
But I don't like to be just rude just for the sake of being rude.
Yeah. I don't know what that says. What do you want to achieve with your stand-up comedy?
Well, I hope that maybe, I want people to laugh. I mean, I think there's a lack of laughter in the world at the moment. There has been for a long time. I think it's very negative, very grim, very dark times that we live in. And there's not enough laughter. And I love being on stage and making people laugh and laughing myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even have to laugh at my own jokes which go so badly. But I think laughter really it's really needed. And I really want people to have a good time. I hope that maybe they see a different point of view about things, and maybe they change their mind about things, or they think about things after they've seen a piece of work,
Yeah, well, if you joke about something serious, it's funny, and then maybe your audience might think, oh, actually, that is something that is a problem. Like, you're a Muslim woman in comedy, and that's quite an unusual thing at the moment. Sorry, excuse me. And it might make people laugh when you're talking about it and how you're the minority, but then afterwards they'll think, you know what, maybe you shouldn't be the minority anymore. We should encourage people similar to yourself to get into comedy and support them.
Oh, yeah, I agree, yeah. I mean, at the moment, I am one of only 2 or 3 Muslim women doing stand-up. When I started, I was the only one for many years.
Yeah.
So, when Richard Pryor started stand-up, he was one of the early black men doing comedy. When Joan Rivers started, she was one of very few women. And there has to be somebody that gets that ball rolling.
Yeah, that's very true.
And there has to be somebody that inspires other people and lets other people know that this is a possibility. And that's why role models and people that you see on TV that look like you is important, because you need somebody that looks like you reflected back at you, and you think, oh, well, it's possible. They look like me and they're doing it. And when I was growing up, there was nobody that looked like me on TV ever. And so it was never a possibility for me. And then I started doing it, and it was difficult, but somebody has to do, you should do what you want to do, regardless of whether you see people that look like you or not.
That's very true.
But sometimes people do need a bit of inspiration.
Yeah, a little bit of support.
Peter, our station manager, has a question for you.
Yeah, Shazia, just listening to you, and when you talk about the importance of laughter, did you grow up in a household of laughter?
No, not at all. And I think probably that's why I feel this way, because I didn't grow up that way.
Yeah.
There was never laughter in the house at all.
So where did you discover the power of laughter?
Being at school and making other people laugh and seeing the reaction, how they reacted to that, and how they were enamoured by that, and how they just thought, oh my gosh, she's so funny. But really, I just wanted attention. I never thought I was being funny at all. I mean, I wasn't most of the time, but it got me attention.
So is that why you wanted to be a teacher? Because you had such a joyous experience whilst at school, making people laugh, and so you thought, oh, I'll get into teaching.
I never wanted to be a teacher. It was something I did to get away from home, to go to university.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I wanted to do either. But it was I think it was like a journey that I took in, and I've ended up as a comedian, which seems to be the right thing for me to do. But I had to go around the houses to get there.
I think this is the last question from us. What is your favourite, or do you have a favourite venue that you've played, and why?
I think, you know what, I've performed all over the world. I mean, I once performed in a tent in Kosovo, in the freezing cold with no electricity, in the dark, which the British Council had taken me to. And then I once performed in the Swiss Alps on a mountain top.
Wow.
And I once performed in Pakistan in a massive tent outside. I mean, I've performed in so many different places and situations and scenarios. And I think what's really exciting for me is to go to a place I've never been to before, where people don't necessarily speak English as their first language, and to just to be out in the wilderness and do something really different. Because I perform in comedy clubs all the time, so that's nothing new to me, and that's normal to me. And there's great clubs that I've performed in, but to go and perform on a mountaintop, or when I was on the island, I had to perform in a ditch. And then I performed in Kosovo in this, makeshift stage. I mean, those are the most exciting things to me, to see how it works, if it can work, if you can make someone laugh in the most absurd situation. I performed in a toilet once in Norway as well. And that's not a joke. It was a public toilet. And they could, in Norway, part of a comedy festival, and they could only get 8 people in this toilet.
Oh, no.
And they were almost on my face. Everybody was squashed into this public, and the toilet was there. It was a public toilet. And there was no microphone, and they were looking at me, and I was looking at them. And it was really crazy. And you know what? It was me and Tom Allen that had to do that.
Wow.
In the same toilet.
And now look at Tom Allen. He's gone from public toilets.
Yeah, it's not done him any harm.
So these experiences make a better comic, for sure.
Yes, definitely.
It's Peter again. I just like to ask, so in all these places you've been around the world performing, so basically are people just people, and they respond to laughter and so on? Yes, there might be cultural differences, but when it comes down to it, we all have that basic desire and natural ability to laugh.
Yeah. I think so. I think, you know, but people come and watch comedy because I assume they want to laugh. I don't think people come because they want to be miserable. They still want to laugh. Although, obviously, you always get the odd few, and they're always in the front row. But anyway, I mean, most of them want to laugh.
Yeah.
They do want to have a good time. People are looking for it. And so, you know, as long as you're half decent, they get what they want.
Very true.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Oh, that's fine. That's great. Thank you very much.
It was great.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And good luck on Saturday.
Yes, yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.